Hey, good morning, Patriots. Welcome to the program. Good to see you all. Well, I can't really see you, but you can see me. So at least one of us get to see somebody, right? That's always a good thing. And it's a rainy day where I'm at today, and I'm doubling and tripling down on coffee because coffee's good. It's good to be awake, right? And another day to face and overcome challenges. And I hear Chris in the background making noises like he wants to come in. Hey, good morning, Chris.
I thought I turned my mic off. There we go. My apologies
Hey,
there.
yes. Well, we heard you. We heard you. It sounded
I
like you were, not doing anything illegal or anything. Thank goodness. So that's good.
no, I
Never.
was reading Run Spot Run.
That's right.
You,
Well, I'm glad someone can read. Well, out of the two of us. Just saying. So I'm glad we got half of us can read on this show, and it's not me. So that's good.
well,
So, well, good morning, Chris. How are you?
good morning, Tony. And I again, this is the Kamala, the Kamala economic plan, or let's say concept of a plan, has been rather intriguing over the past week because I still know nothing about it.
Yeah, I actually rewatched a number of her things yesterday. I don't want to get into all of it now because we've got folks coming on. We've got Paul Stone on today, right? We want to talk about some of the economic issues with Paul, and we got Karen coming on, right? Karen's going to join us.
Karen should be in just a few moments. We have Paul today, and yes, Paul has more of a plan than Kamala Harris has.
So, I have a question for you. Just let's start it off and frame it. So she says she wants to help us, quote unquote, catch up to the 21st century. What the hell does that even mean? Who got off the train and left the century? I mean, what does that even mean? It's like,
Apparently,
I want to help us catch up to the 21st century. We're 25 years into the 21st century. Where in the heck has she been?
well, maybe she's upset because 2023, as you know, should have been when, according to movie timelines, should have been when Soylent Green took place. She's very upset that it didn't because that would help her population control announcement from some years ago too.
Well, I mean, are you saying that she wants Soylent Green? That would be a solution for her that might work. I mean, she's always reminded me of that Wicked Witch of the West a little bit. She's not green. Don't be thinking I'm not calling her green.
Yeah, that's
Evil. I'm calling her evil, but not green. Just saying.
right, right.
And I guess that would be a good way of kind of reducing a certain part of the MAGA population in a way that that would give them an out, right? I mean, it seems like that's what they want because the rhetoric, as you know, is getting way over the top. I mean, again, like there was no delay. I actually said this last night on Ed Henry's program when Blaine and I were on. Blaine Holt and I were on with Ed last night, and I
Right.
said, at least the last assassination attempt, there was a period of time. There was I don't know, 2-3 days that the Democrats just stepped back and said, oh, maybe it's the rhetoric. And then this time it was like, nah, we're just going to roll right back into it. So what do you think?
It's their rhetoric. We've said it before. We're going to say it
Oh
again.
yeah.
It's the constant Trump is a threat to democracy and must be stopped at all costs. He has to be finished. Project 2025 is coming upon us, and Donald Trump, you have to stop him to stop that. And while the polls don't matter, but when you see more Trump signs lying around, when you see people supporting him, when you see the crowds, you're a nutcase who's been donating to Act Blue, whether it be $5 or $10 multiple times, and trying to recruit Afghan soldiers to fight in Ukraine to save Biden's face. Well, you're going to act upon it because you're an idiot. That's what's going to
Yeah.
happen. What their rhetoric is. What was it for the last 20 years? Oh, well, right wing rhetoric is going to get right wing crazies to start shooting people up. Well, what we've seen is left wing rhetoric over the last 20 years has been getting left wing crazies to shoot people up.
Literally.
Right.
Yeah.
And try to assassinate now public officials or former
Yeah.
public officials or candidates.
So, well, speaking, did you know this whole 2025 thing comes up constantly? Did you know, Chris, that one of the requirements of Project 2025 is that every adult over the age of 18 must visit Walmart at least twice a month? Did you know that's a new rule in Project 2025? Did you know that?
Well, not only that, they also are commissioning Zager and Evans to do a remake of In the Year 2525 to change that to
Hey, there you
In the
go.
Year 2025.
Yeah.
And that's part of it too. That's That's reasonable. I can see that's the only reasonable
Yeah,
platform against 2025. But
I guess there's a requirement for anyone. Again, this is 2025. That if you have any if you show up in public with green with orange from eating Cheetos, that means that you are automatically nominated to run for city council in most jurisdictions. Did you know that? That's another little known fact in the 2025 thing, and that would be hideous, right? I mean,
well, that would be pretty bad.
consuming a product and all of a sudden you're a politician, that would be horrible. I mean, who would subjugate someone to that sort of torture, right? I
No,
mean,
I would say you're right.
why they're
I'm not a big fan of the whole Project 2025. I read a lot of it. There's some good ideas and there's a lot of government overreach. But the one thing that people seem to whine about a little too much, and we're trying to get Karen in a few moments. So all those who are missing Karen, and she's coming in
yes,
just a
Karen will
few
be here.
seconds.
We'll have
Right.
Karen. Yes.
We're trying to get her in and out. There's a little camera issue here. What we're doing is, because we want to do Jesus calling. The whining about the elimination of the Department of Education is over the top because we didn't have one up until the Clinton presidency. The
Well, like I said,
1990s,
only
it was invented as an extra,
that's right.
useless appendage of government.
Some of us didn't care about education. Like I said, only half of us can read, and that's Chris. So I can't even read. So who needs
Well,
education, right?
well, how about this, Tony? Think about this. Our students have lower scores in math and science, and it keeps decreasing. Political
So
correctness and self-esteem goes up,
they're
and
going to
intellect
complain
goes
about
down.
anything. No,
Right, but
you know,
that's coincides with the Department of Education.
right? Do you know how I feel about 2025, Chris?
Wow,
I don't care.
there you go. Hey, they've been
To
doing this
quote,
since the
to
80s.
quote the great Harrison Ford when he was asked about the Boba Fett or the scene in the bar scene. If he was asked about it at a convention, Chris, you remember this scene? So I'm a
Yep.
sci-fi guy, and they finally ask him, it's like, what do you was Harris did his character Han Solo take a low blow by shooting what's his name? That's like, I don't care. It's like, I don't care.
Did he take a low
I
blow,
don't.
or did Willie Brown do that?
Well,
Anyway,
speaking, yes, I know. Good morning, Karen. Welcome
Good
back.
morning. I'm
Everybody's
here.
excited
I'm
to see
back.
you.
I couldn't
Yes.
get in. I was in the Rumble chat I was trying to send smoke signals and let you guys know that I was trying to get in, but here I am, and it seems like we have a good connection. So I'm happy about that.
Good.
Good morning,
Well,
Patriots.
yes. Good morning to the Patriots. And it's rainy where I'm at. I mean, like raining cats and dogs. So hopefully, we won't have any power issues.
Ooh, cats and dogs.
and the
Ooh,
thing is,
I mean,
I feel like I'm in Springfield, Ohio. I do, and I went to college in
I
Dayton, so I'm right down the road from them.
I have to tell you, I'm all about talking to the real Americans. I mean, that was what this morning show was founded on. And I have to tell you
Yes.
that I've been on social media and I might have gone down a little bit of a rabbit hole and started to watch some TikTok videos last night of
boy.
people that are in Springfield, Ohio. And there was this one guy on his porch talking about all the feral cats that he used to feed and how there aren't anymore. So, it doesn't take a genius to put two and two together. And, Donald Trump sometimes points out the obvious and not so eloquent ways, but they end up being things that are really, this is going to be socially iconic, this cats and dogs song, I have to say. It's gone
Well,
another level.
Well, get
with
this.
with that idiot
Get
Hassan
this now. I
Piker.
talked to Chris. I talked to Chris about this yesterday. Not all the left is dismissing this. As a matter of fact, there's a
Right.
notable figure who I've met, and I she's seen as a little bit wacky, but in a good way. I like her, Marianne Williamson. Marianne Williamson stood up yesterday and said, "Hey, Haitians have this really wackadoodle religion where they use animal sacrifice as part of their consecration of their religion." So she's saying, don't dismiss it. So, Karen, what do you think? I mean, it sounds like
Okay.
if there's some folks on the left saying, "Hey, this is real." So,
Childless cat ladies unite. Let's all get together and, form an alliance to save this country because somebody's going to have to do it. Right now, the only candidate we have that can do it at all would be Donald Trump. I mean, the fact that we're actually even running this presidential race every day I wake up and I'm perplexed that this is the America that I'm living in. I feel like I've jumped timelines into an alternate reality. I'm wondering if maybe we can, talk to Marianne Williamson, get her on the show because I'd like to talk about that because I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Didn't I say that, Chris? I said we need to try to get her on. So I don't care if she's backing Trump or not. She said what she said about.
I don't care either.
Right.
Yeah,
But
it's
Trump,
like,
It's true.
yeah,
but and of course
It's
Tony
true.
needs some healing too. Tony needs healing. So Marianne can do two
I
things:
need
kill
healing.
two birds at one
Right.
stone, and she can heal Tony and tell us exactly what how voodoo works.
Well,
I mean, well, let's just say I want to stand up for the Haitian community here, because I think that a lot of religions started with animal sacrifice. If we go back into the Bible, and even, we talk about, Passover, for example, we talk about the lamb's blood on the door. I mean, there's a lot of things that have gone on in the history of the world that we're not totally clear on. And I think that most people who live in a civilized America don't think that it's appropriate to eat a goose out of the park. Like, you would never do that.
Right.
But you're living in a third world country where there is no economy because the communists and the demons have taken it away from you. You're going to look for a goose in the park because that's all you know. So maybe this isn't about religion at all, and this is more about survival. And you're bringing people into a westernized culture when they may not be totally familiar with what's appropriate. I mean, let's just put it out there.
Yeah. So are you telling me, Karen, that the animal sacrifices that Hillary conducts up in New York are not necessary? Is that like something she just decides to do? Because I don't think she's starving. Just saying. I don't think she.
That's a whole other level. I mean, we went to demonic. I said demonic earlier.
I'm bringing that up for a reason, because where did all those billions of dollars that the Clinton Foundation came up with to help Haitian? Didn't they build like 5 houses in Haiti and take all the rest of it and give it to their daughter, Chelsea?
Right.
I mean, that's something that still does not sit well with me, is the fact that the Clintons basically used Haiti as a grift and did nothing to improve the conditions in that country. That's why they have their foundation.
Everything,
right.
every foreign nation that Clinton touches gets worse. Look at Libya. Look at Haiti. But again, voodoo and the cat sacrifices and everything else, it does, and this is important. It helps you hit a curveball, as Pedro Serrano here would say from the movie Major League. You see, the straight ball bats he hits them very much, he says, but bats are afraid of the curveball. And that's why he needed to sacrifice chickens to Jobu.
Okay.
Wow.
I'll take your word for that.
I mean,
I don't remember Major League.
You would have been better off bringing up.
Yeah,
that's a bit obscure. I think you would have been better off bringing up Harvey Korman. You better bringing up Harvey Korman in Blazing Saddles, doing the voodoo that you do so well. But that's just me.
That was a good one, Tony. And I'm gonna go with the fact that, like, they're dropping 20,000 people. I mean, just on pure logic, into a place where now there's 60,000 residents, so you're going ahead and you're putting a third of the population into this town. And these are people that are not familiar with how things work. And I don't know, maybe the Biden administration, as much as they're doing handouts, maybe they weren't doing a good job in Springfield. And maybe these people are hungry, and maybe they're barbecuing the cats. Maybe.
I know the area, so let me kind of hit that point, and then as soon as we get done with that,
please,
Karen, I'd like you to talk about Jesus Calling right after we do the segment
regarding
Springfield. But so let me be clear. I went to high school in Lisbon, Portugal. I came back to Dayton, Ohio, completed 1 year of high school at Stebbins High School in Dayton, and then I attended 4 years. Well, it was 82 to 86. In Fairborn at Rice State University. Right north of Fairborn is Springfield. So I know the area very well. Springfield has always been basically a suburb of Dayton. It's like residents where people, who used to work at the GM plant and other places in the area would basically, that's where their houses were at. They slept there. There's the Dayton International Airport's there. So it's not an unrefined area, but it's not ready. It's not ready to have any suburb that has, I don't know, between 40 and 50,000 people. You can't automatically be prepared to take in another 20,000 people.
It's mind-boggling. It's impossible.
Right. So when we hear people complaining, and JD Vance kind of said this, it's like, it took us saying this to get your freaking attention. America.
Yeah.
And JD Vance said, look, I'm talking to my constituents all the time about what's going on there. And it's about the overwhelming of public services. It's about the fact that you have medical facilities, which cannot actually help citizens. These are all the things that Kamala Harris did. So my question to you, Karen, do you think that they purposely, the Biden-Harris administration purposely overwhelmed Springfield, Ohio, because they don't like, it's a red state. So you think they did this purposely to take a shot at some of the red state cities?
I don't think it's a direct animal sacrifice, but it's demonic nevertheless. And the things that the Democrats have done to all of these cities all over this country, and where they've decimated them and they've made them such a shell of what they were in such a short period of time, should make anybody wake up and vote for Donald Trump. But that's not the reality we're living in, unfortunately, which makes me want to get to Jesus calling, because really what we need right now is the power of prayer. I haven't seen both of you since the second assassination attempt, which is also unbelievable. And, I'm hoping we're going to follow the money on this and find out who was paying the guy that shot.
Oh, do Jesus calling, and we'll jump right into that.
Okay, great. All right, let me do it. Okay. You will not find peace by engaging in excessive planning, attempting to control what will happen to you in the future. That is commonly practiced, and it is a form of unbelief. When your mind spins with multiple plans, peace may sometimes be within your grasp, yet it's going to elude you. Just when you think you have prepared for all possibilities, something unexpected will pop up and throw things into confusion. I did not design the human mind to figure out the future. That is beyond your capability. I crafted your mind for continual communication with me. Bring me all of your needs, your hopes, your fears, and commit everything into my care. Turn from the path of planning into the path of peace. I certainly needed that. Amen.
So I do believe that the human mind, our brain is not designed. It's more designed to be, it's a communications device. We are always tied into the Holy Spirit. I do believe that. I think this is where physics and faith come together. As a matter of fact, I think there's more than ample evidence that the way our being is set up is that it's like, why do you sleep? Well, you sleep because you communicate with, other
realms. Right. I mean, I'm on the same page as you are.
It's like, there's reasons why we have to have that time, that communion.
Yeah.
That's a great thought. But speaking of communion, not good communion, Chris, let's roll back to this knucklehead who tried to take the shot. So real quick, let me set up the stage here a little bit. So this guy, Karen, this guy travels around like Babs. Like he's got the travel budget of Barbra Streisand. I mean, one day he's in Hawaii buying a place. The next thing he's in Ukraine recruiting Afghan nationals to go fight for them. I mean, how does this guy move around like this? I mean,
he's hired. He's hired help. And, either he's taking temp jobs through these temp agencies. I mean, anybody here can go on Indeed.com today. And I promise you, if you search for political positions, you will find spots where you can go to places and sign people up and protest and do things and get paid. So, he's traveling on the budget of taxpayers in this country, because after all, Indeed.com, all of these other things, they thrive on American business nevertheless. And he is actually profiting from that. And I want to know who is paying him. And at the end of the day, if you follow the money trail, it comes back to Act Blue. It comes back to George Soros. It comes back to all the same old players. But what are we doing about it? Talk about a plan. I want Donald Trump to attack these globalists. We all do.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to hit on this is about the globalists, because there's a deeper, more evil aspect of all of this that it goes beyond money. So did you know, Karen, that this guy has 4 felony convictions?
Yep.
Now,
I'm not surprised.
Several states too.
No, and this is public record here in North Carolina. As a matter of fact,
he had a weapon of mass destruction. I mean,
he had a machine gun.
At what point is this man not in jail? But this is the problem. Again, goes back to prosecution. No.
Yeah, so I want to bring it up. So let me go through that real quick, because the notable feature here is that he was he was convicted. He was convicted. It's actually a public article, because he actually had this machine gun.
Yeah.
Back in 2002, he actually he got caught during a traffic stop, showed a weapon, ran, got to his roofing business, and then had a machine gun and had a standoff for 3 hours with the police. And then in the end, he shot himself. And then I brought it up here. Okay, so he had a felony conviction for that. And then, Karen, he's got 3 other felony conviction for possession of stolen goods in 2010.
Bring back the insane asylum. Put this man in an insane asylum.
No. You don't know where I'm going. Apparently, let me point it out to you. This guy ain't crazy. He's a Fed. Nobody gets 4 felonies and doesn't do prison time. Out of all the things,
he's right. So he's a hired help again.
He didn't spend a day in jail. So the only way you don't spend
this is the way it works
is you work for the Feds.
This is the way it works in this country. They get you in jail. And believe me, because somebody who's been to prison and who's dealt with the Feds and who actually, was brought before a corrupt magistrate and with a misdemeanor charge and ended up in a maximum security federal prison. Read my book, Behind the Headlines. Please buy my book on Amazon, because this is exactly what we're talking about. It's a corrupted legal system. Yep. Once they get you in there, they want to fry a bigger fish. So it becomes come help us. And once you're helpful, they then compensate you. So this man was double dipping, in my opinion. I'm sure that he was being paid by the federal government. No doubt about that. Plus, he was traveling around and being a paid protester in the process as well. But absolutely, Tony, no, I'm on the same page as you. This is why I'll say bring back the insane asylum. Like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I think we have to look at the fact that we are so light on prosecution of people that obviously you're mentally ill if you go to work for the federal government and fry a bigger fish for them, in my opinion. If you're willing to be that kind of a person that will sell your soul to the devil in order to save your soul or save yourself for whatever reason, I just think that that's wrong on every ethical level. So you have to question not only the morality, but the actual insanity of somebody who would go to work in that capacity for the federal government. Am I right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Chris, do you have some sound bites you want to play for us regarding this guy?
There isn't really sound of him, but there are a lot of little bits you can read about what he's said and what he's done. The man was trying to recruit people to go to Ukraine. And well, actually, excuse me, not people, but recruit Afghan soldiers to go to Ukraine. And he put a whole load of tweets out about this whole thing. But the man was absolutely
and he wanted to do
obsessed.
a song for Ukraine too.
Yep.
He tried to get Bono to write a song like we are the Azov Battalion and we don't like Russians.
That's right.
That would have been a great song, by the way.
He was praising the Azovs. Ryan Ruth also tried to tweet to Joe Biden, telling him and Harris they should go to the hospital where the guy who was injured and people who were injured and the guy who was killed during the first Trump assassination attempt, just to show off and use the optics to take care of things. But here's the worst of it all. He wrote a book of urging Iran to assassinate Donald Trump.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Exactly. This guy's donated to Act Blue. Now, obviously, interestingly enough, there's a couple parallels here to the other guy. Minimal donations to Act Blue. This guy donated $140 total to Act Blue, supposedly on the books. Wow. Whereas the other guy, the little wimpy guy who tried to shoot him in Pennsylvania.
Correct.
You mean Dr. Fauci?
Yeah, there we go. Dr.
That's
Fauci,
a different assassin.
Jr.
Sorry, I'm mixing up my assassins here. Sorry, that's my.
He was a small donor to Act Blue, but funny thing, they both seem to be in some kind of connection with some member of the deep state. You saw Crooks in the BlackRock video again. There's a rabbit hole deal. But now you're looking at this guy who's been popping up all around when it comes to Ukraine. He's popping up over here. He has no real job. Is not one listed, not an employer listed. But like you said, he's doing temp jobs. He's a paid protester, or he may be a paid protester, I should say. And this is the kind of person that the FBI, excuse me, not the FBI. This is the kind of person that the deep state seeks out to try to, let's say, make things happen if they need it.
So birds of a feather flock together.
Well, I want to hit that point real quick, because what you're talking about is very important, because it's not just about him going to these things. He was a guy that was using propaganda. He was actually doing things that relate to messaging. So remember, he's been interviewed by Newsweek, by the
Right.
New York Times, and he seemed to have been promoted by those things. So it's not just about him volunteering. He's part of the script. He's part of the script of trying to create a certain perception of reality. That's what's most dangerous about this, which again, to me, then rolls back to my belief that he's an operative. That's the way I'm looking at it. So
That
I don't know.
works.
Yeah, but you know what, Tony, and I love where you're going with this, because we talked about on this show before mind control and the CIA and their studying of mind control. And I'm not saying that there's some machine in some basement that some guy is running that's, you know, making people do crazy things. What I'm saying is, on a more basic level, subliminally, people have been taught to react a certain way, and there is a certain amount of the population that is susceptible. The biggest crisis we have in this country is mental illness and also drugs. What drugs does this guy take? What made him mentally ill? How did he get to the point where he would be willing to sell his soul to the deep state and to the devil and do the things that he's doing and potentially, you know, kill someone? I don't know.
I think some people already are kind of going down that path. This guy didn't take much to go down that path. I think some people, I'm just going to say it, are inherently
I agree.
evil. I mean,
I agree.
Some people are born with a hole in their soul, and
100%.
But they know how to.
This guy seems to be in that category. I don't.
They know how to
judge,
find these people, Tony. These people are easily found by intelligence operatives. I'm sure you've seen these people around you.
All right, so I had a discussion
But-
with my girlfriend about this last night, because I was trying to explain to her what we do, and what? No, I mean spies, intelligence, military intelligence.
Oh, I thought you meant on this show. I was like, well, you can watch the show, Tony. You know, you can tell her to watch the show.
You guys aren't recruiting. Just saying. Just you don't have access and placement. So let me explain this real quick, because people don't get it very quickly. What we do. And we have people like me still in the government, and this is my issue, because, we go through, my diploma's up here to lie, cheat, and steal, and all that, and we go through CIA training. Everybody goes through Common Core training, and the idea here is that during that training, it's about 7 months, and you're focused on understanding how people work, how just the human being, how the human mind works, and the frailties of the human condition. That is to say, people have flaws. People can be gotten, to use a term of art. And so we, as intelligence officers, especially military case officers in general, we spot, assess, and recruit individuals who have vulnerabilities to spy against their country for us. Now, inherently, if you're spying for us and against your country, it's dangerous. So you got to figure out a way. Yeah, so you got to figure out a way to convince these people, hey, spying for us is a good thing, even though you may die. Well, it's all cool. So I'm just saying that whatever skill set we have to develop, there are folks who don't do this for the good. I do this because I wanted to do it. Sometimes you got to hide the truth to get the truth. And that was my philosophy of why I became an operative. You got to serve a cause bigger than yourself. So the skill sets that I've used has been, I think, to benefit, the side of light and truth, but others don't have that moral core to go and do it for a certain reason. And I think there are people out there in the federal government who will look for knuckleheads like this, like what's his name, Chris? This
Ryan Ruth.
Ruth. Yeah.
They will look like for these guys who are basically gettable, who have no moral core, and they'll use them in such ways that benefit the deep state. And so I think that you have people out there who are working overtime right now to do two things: to convince us that Ukraine war needs to be kept going no matter what. He was part of that messaging, and also that Trump is a danger to democracy. This guy was set up and echoed the thoughts and aspirations of the deep state, because he wants that. He's on board with all that, and I think it wasn't that big of a stretch for him to get. I've got to be careful here. I don't want to make accusations, but somehow he knew about where to be on that golf course at a certain time. When MSNBC, did you know that MSNBC was surreptitiously covering that outing live?
Right.
There's a lot of very strange things about all of that, and I agree that there was probably some inside information. But I also want to say, as somebody who's lived down here, and this is where I raised my kids, this golf course is like in my neighborhood backyard, which consists of like a 25-mile radius. Right, it's not far from my home, and I drive by it all the time. And if you are some guy like this, it would be very easy to take the Palm Tran bus, get off at the stop, and basically go, oh, look, there's a bush and a fence. Oh, that's hole number 6. I mean, this doesn't take a genius. I just want to be, I think a lot of us are shocked that
I've heard
there isn't more security, and there isn't more, there isn't more, that you could ride a bike over there and shoot at the president, or, take the bus or drive your Nissan or whatever. I mean, that seems mind boggling, but that's the reality. I just want to make sure that, like, for those of us that don't live in South Florida, like, this is not something that would take a tremendous amount of planning. Plus, Donald Trump is at that golf course every Sunday. So whether or not he was scheduled to be there, this guy laid in wait for 12 hours. He could have laid in wait for 5 days. I think he would have done it for 5 days. He might have had a tent set up, in which case nobody would have noticed him anyway, because we're run by Democrats and there are tents everywhere.
Well, two things on that. First, Secret Service should be using basic drone technology. I mean, my son has a $1,500 drone that would have detected this guy. It's like, come on. It's like you could just have the Secret Service fly a drone, and it has FLIR on it, so you can detect, changes. Like, oh, there's a deer, so you can just check out. Oh no, that's a deer. No, that's a guy. This is not. Maybe this is what she meant when Kamala Harris said we have to catch up to the 21st century. Maybe she meant the Secret Service, because this has been technology available for a decade.
Well, maybe
it's shocking.
Secondly, let me finish this, Chris. The second thing regarding MSNBC being there, why this Sunday? Yes, Trump goes out, but why this Sunday? Out of all the Sundays to cover the president, would MSNBC be doing?
I think there might have been a media leak. I think there might have been a media leak rather than an FBI leak. Everybody talks about him having some inside information, Tony, and you talked about him potentially being a federal witness or whatever his position is with the federal government. But at the same time, look at the angle that, Time Magazine put out this cover where they had the president stuck in the dune, and then MSNBC is, and it's not a dune. Oh my God, it's a sand trap. I know, and I should know because I'm on the golf course all the time, but I don't play. But at the end of the day, it's very prophetic that they put out this cover and then all of a sudden MSNBC's following. I think more likely it's like, Kamala getting the debate questions. Somebody slipped this guy a note and said, hey, we know he's going to be at the golf course today because he's got to do this press thing with MSNBC. So it might be a good time for, you to be over there, doing your protest thing,
It makes
who knows?
Sense. It makes sense. But that's the thing. As Ralph and in the chat, Ralph and Chuck said, he could have been a patsy. And this is where, like you were talking about, Tony, these guys, these operative types can find a patsy to do the bidding for them. And that's what this guy could have been. And he made his career.
I was going to bring up Lee Harvey Oswald. Lee Harvey Oswald was clearly a patsy, as Jerry, we've talked about with Dr. Corsi several times.
Did we ever get to the bottom of that? Like, let's get to the bottom of all of this. Will we ever get to the bottom of Thomas Crooks and the shooting on the roof? Probably not, because we'll never get the details.
No, we never will. Well, and there's going to be a big blackout on this guy too. The social media was ripped down rather quickly. You can actually look these things up anyway, but they're going to try to hide as much as they can. Just like we don't hear about Tom. We don't hear about Crooks anymore, do we? No. We're not going to hear about this guy after a couple of weeks. And in fact, there's going to be some kind of move by the Democrats to take the news cycle in a few days, just like they did by making the switcheroo between Biden and Harris. Had there not been an assassination, there would never have been a switcheroo.
Great point.
That's true. Well, but now let me ask you both a question as we move forward here. Do you think, as Kamala, and I don't buy all these polls. Chris wanted to talk about this briefly. They're trying to create this whole red wave, red mirage. That's what you said, Chris, right?
That's right. That's right. Again, it's the second time.
And I don't believe it for a minute, because nobody's buying that she's up in the polls. Now I saw today the Daily Mail out of the blue says, "Oh, she's up." No. Look at Nate Silver's polls. I think Nate is being as fair as one can be while being on the left, just saying. And he's saying, no, it's not even close at this point. And I don't believe it's close, because the more she talks, the more people get turned off. So what do you both? Let's get a comment from both of you on that before we bring in Paul.
I'm going to say that I don't think we fixed election fraud, which is a really big concern for me. Yeah, we don't
Right.
have
No,
the
I agree.
same COVID restrictions and mail-in ballots, but I think AI technology and electronic manipulation and other things that could potentially take place are of real concern to us. I also think that there is a amount of the population that is so susceptible to BS that they actually will fall for some of this smokescreen. And I'm a little afraid of that. I'm not totally convinced that we have this in the bag. And I thought when he came down the escalator in 2015, and, you know, I'm on the Trump team all the way, I was like, he's got this, he's got this, he's got this. And my intuition is telling me that there's a lot of things that are going to happen between now and November.
Oh, I know. So I think they're going to try again. I think this. They're not done with the assassination attempts. I don't.
But they're starting by manipulating us or manipulating the public right away. As you can see in this article, this is only a few days old. This article, New York Times says once again, election results could take a while, which means, well, what's going to happen is you're going to see Donald Trump ahead during the account, just like last time during the on election night. But we're going to make sure there might be a few ballots, or these swing states are going to see some other mail-in ballots come in that you might not know about. Look, so that's it. Forget it. From now on, if they're not counted by midnight or maybe 3 a.m. after election day, that's it. Done.
No. Well, that's what they've done here in North Carolina. They've changed the rule back. If it's not counted by midnight on election day, it doesn't count. Period.
It works.
That's the right law.
Right. The mail. Yeah. We don't have an election day. We have an election season. It has to be election day. Right. It shouldn't just because people don't want to get off their rear ends and vote doesn't mean that they should do. This is not a right. Voting. Right. This is a mistake. Voting is not a right. It's a privilege to American citizens.
Right. Yeah, but we also need everybody to vote, and we shouldn't. What I'm afraid of, I think, where we had some problems in 2020, Chris, was, you know, we were so against early voting for Republicans, and we went on this sort of like vote day of. And my fear is that, you know, we need everything we can get, right? Like, don't not vote because you can't get there same day. Like, do the early voting if you have to. Like, we have to come out in droves. We have to vote. And, you know, we have to inspire other people to vote, whether it's our kids or anybody else, even if we're not sure how they're going to pull the trigger. I think we got to get everybody in those booths.
Oh, no, I agree.
I despise early voting. Sorry.
I know you do. We all do.
We have absentee
we all
ballots.
do, Chris, but as long as it's on the books, you need to take advantage of it.
We have to.
Yeah.
But
scary.
But that should be off the books. We have absentee ballots. People can't do mail-ins. You can get your mail-in ballots by voluntarily going in and asking for them. It's not difficult.
I think people are busy. It's not difficult, but people are busy and they have kids and they have lives. And
absentee
you know what? As somebody who's dropped the ball here and there on things, you know, sometimes we gotta like help people out a little.
Exactly. See, Chris, this is where the childless cat ladies have the advantage. They don't do anything.
True.
No, the cats get really upset when they leave.
Well, they start having the cats vote. They give them little names and have them register. So
they turn feral.
They humanize their animals.
If they're going too long, the cats turn feral and start eating each other. So that's a problem for them after they're out after 3 hours.
We'll have to take that up another day because right now we have to bring in Paul Stone of Colonial Metals Group. Good morning, Paul. I hope your cats weren't insulted by our conversations about cats.
No, I love it. I was enjoying listening. Can you hear me okay?
Meow. So, okay. Well, welcome back, Paul. We're going to go through. I'm going to throw some things your way this morning that you're not prepared for, but I know you can handle it.
This will be fun.
So, Paul's joining us obviously to talk about a number of things which relate to what will help you. And so without further ado, Paul, I took notes on Kamala's economic plan. Yes, I did. And I know I said I didn't read. I do read. I was just kidding about that. So, you know, sorry. Don't mean to throw you all off, but I actually made notes. So, Paul, without further ado, I'm going to ask you to be the Kamala whisperer. Can you do that?
But we have to heal Kamala?
Well, you gotta translate. You gotta translate. So here we go. So she says that she wants an opportunity economy. What the hell does that mean?
Well, I know what it means to
I've
me.
never heard of that.
Yeah. Well, isn't that what America was in the 1700s and the 1800s?
Well, I think
and the
we all,
1900s?
yeah, I think it's what it is, right? I
It
mean,
was a small government, which gave us tons of opportunities to create and build and team up together and learn from mistakes and perfect processes and dream up crazy ideas. Like I could touch a piece of glass and something will
Right.
show up on my doorstep the next day. Touchscreen devices, satellites, curing the medical inventions we've all come up with. How much of that was invented by the government?
none.
So,
I mean, how much of it needs gold? We need gold. We need precious metals in order to run electronics. Think about that. Think about like how much has changed in our world. It's nuts.
Watching this the thing on Earth on Netflix. Is it Samuel Jackson that narrates it?
Yes,
I think so. The reason I'm mentioning this is two facts. One, it just opens your mind up a little bit. 99% of all of the species that have ever existed are extinct. That's crazy. 99%.
Ooh, yeah.
And as I'm watching the evolution of animals coming into being, the most special of them all and the ones that are sturdiest are the ones with a backbone. The backbone. So creatures that have a backbone are much more durable and flexible to deal with things that come at it. Gold to me is a financial backbone. And when Nixon ended that relationship, we lost that. And now we're all squishy and just inflexible and bloated, and angry and upset. And our fundamentals have eroded.
Right.
So when Kamala says we must need an opportunity economy, she's confirming for everyone there aren't very many opportunities in the economy like there used to be. The problem is the government can't invent those things. It can just destroy them.
I'm going to go through that. Right. So that's the point. It's like, and so many things that you offer, which are important to those who want to have options and sustain their family's financial stability and strength, have to do with obtaining, metals, gold, silver. And I do believe this. I've said this before in the show. I'm going to say it again now. You need to have a combination of gold and silver. But one of the things that happens is that gold has a great deal of value, no doubt, and you want to have that as a cornerstone of your portfolio. But silver gives you some other options as well. And physical silver, having things like that are great options to have. There's nothing better than that. And again, as we've talked about on the show, these metals have been the economic foundation of societies going back to the dawn of civilization. If it was good enough for the Romans, it's good enough for us. And I think that's a good way of looking at it. But I want to continue with the Kamala speak. So I don't know. Did you know that part of her plan is having people being proud of their lawns? I did not know that was an economic requirement, but she did say that. So I'm proud of my lawn. I've got 3 acres and I'm very proud of it. Just saying. So I guess that's a good thing. But the other thing she said is that Americans deserve dignity. It's like, Paul, we don't have an economy that preserves dignity. It's not the economy's job is not to preserve dignity, it's to generate wealth for individuals. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, and dignity comes generally from a few things like hard work and getting to keep what you have. Yeah.
So, but the government can't provide you dignity through the economy. You have to generate you have to generate the work ethic, which then becomes the dignity which you receive back. Is that correct? Is that the right way of looking at that?
I believe so. And once again, if she's suggesting that something needs to be created by the government, she's aware of that.
Exactly.
Efficiency that it isn't where it ought to be. What they can't see, there's an old psychological principle: self can't see self.
Yeah.
So the government can't see itself. They can't see they're causing these troubles they're proposing to fix for us.
Yeah. And so the other thing she says, I love this because it's reflective of who we are, but has no path to actually fulfill the aspirations of the American people. So she says, Paul, we have a beautiful character as a people. Did you know that? I think we do. But how that relates to economic growth, I don't know. Because I'm just saying it was an economic question, but you said, well, we all have beautiful characters. Like, okay, I guess that's true. So, but here's another one of those specific things. She says she wants to, quote unquote, fuel these dreams and ambitions. How in the heck would the government fuel dreams and ambitions? And do we want that? Paul, would you want the government fulfilling your dreams and ambitions? Because I don't think I want the government doing that. Just asking. I don't know.
Yeah, if you think about, to me, that the bell that rings for me is two things cannot occupy the same place at the same time. So if the government's standing where we want to operate, then we can't be there. And we're the ones, the four of us on this screen are representative of the creation side to the economy. The government, to me, in their track record, wouldn't you agree with me, stand on the destruction side. So if there's the bigger they get, the more room they're taking up where we can operate. If they were to back off, if they were to shrink back to a much smaller size, I mean, just remember $75 billion annual payroll for the entire government when Reagan was president. Today, it's $1.4 trillion.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So when you also look at the chief employer, job creator, the government's just expanding itself and hiring people to fill those roles. I don't know what those roles actually produce. To me, they destroy. So the government stands where we want to be digging and shoveling and building and operating and researching, then we can't do it, right? Because they're standing in that place. If they shrank,
I only have two more. Yeah, I only have two more points I want to bring up regarding her comments, but the next one goes right to what you were saying. She says she and the government want to, quote, invest and fuel those dreams and ambitions and aspirations. So again, why would we want the government fueling anything regarding our ambitions, Paul? That seems to me to be what, I don't know, communism may do. I mean, am I overstating that?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this the other day. First of all, if the government inspires something, it either does it by cutting regulation, which is freeing the economy up, the actionable lively element to our society that can generate revenue, create actual jobs that last, something that's contributed to the economy. And the beauty of that is the demand side, us consumers say, we see something on a shelf. If we ignore it, then that company wasn't in tune with what we needed. When we don't ignore it and we have to have what's on the shelf, they did a great job wondering, I think society needs this. Most things that you would buy are a solution to a problem. Laundry detergent, lawn care services. So when you look at them creating something, they're going to be printing money. They're either cutting regulations and freeing us up to go operate in a wider, freer to inspire and create and take the restrictions off, right? Or they're going to print money. When they print money, like her proposal, she wants a million, 250,000 or a million.
I want to go through that. Yeah.
Okay. I'll get to that later.
Yeah. So,
but printing money causes everything to be more expensive, which causes the struggle in America to cause her to say, I think we need an opportunity-based economy. We do. Fire the government. Just shrink back by 1,000%, and we'll do awesome. And you can take credit for it.
Right. So Trump wants to. So this is where I want to get into that real quick. Let me do one more thing she said, then we'll jump into the details. So Paul, did you know that we have to catch the 21st century? I didn't know we were behind, but she says, according to her, we have to catch up with the 21st century. It's like, where has she been? It's just like 2025. It was like, maybe she got left behind, but we certainly didn't. I mean, what kind of vacuous nonsense is this that passes for presidential level concepts of how she's going to heal the economy? Who does this? I mean,
those who believe in isms, communism, socialism, most things that ends with ism, alcoholism, autism, communism, socialism aren't pleasant conditions to be in. Things that end in an ISM, right? But democracy doesn't end in ism.
So, and that's what I want to talk about here, because one of the things that she goes into specifics on is this whole idea that she's going to support for the first year only the $6,000 child tax credit. Now, let me be clear on this for the audience, for the Patriots to understand. She says she wants to give money to people, but she really doesn't. She talks about essentially tax breaks. And if you listen, you got to listen really closely, because when she gets into specifics, which aren't really all that specific, it's actually the bait and switch. Like, I want to give businesses $5,000. No. She wants to do it for 50, and it's not really giving you anything. It's a tax deduction, which means you have to spend the money first. So it's not giving you anything. And so, and then also with this $25,000 credit to buy your house, if you don't actually expand the number of houses available, all you do is inflate the current prices and you've gained nothing. So all of this is voodoo. Remember, Karen, we talked about voodoo with regarding
We did. And I was going to
this is
say the ism that I like, Paul, is Judaism. That's a good ism. I was thinking
That's a
about
good
isms.
ism.
What other
That's good.
isms are there? And that's really the only ism that I could think of. And I think it brought back like the power of prayer, Tony. And you went right where I was going to go too. I was like, I got to get back to God now. Can we get back to
Yeah.
God?
yeah.
Got to have faith. Some
Well,
faith.
this is the thing. So, well, I have the faith in Donald Trump. Just saying, this is not. I'm not saying that he's perfect. But one of the things he did say, in addition to ignoring the Kamala Harris voodoo, is that he said that he would actually stop taxing on all overtime, which is huge. That's people keeping their money. That's real money. That's not like a deduction. That's like, oh yeah, you get to keep more of your money. He actually reduces your liability, your tax liability, which is a good thing. Which obviously, if people get that money, they can do things with it. Secondly, Trump has talked about, which is I'm a big fan of, stopping all taxation of Social Security.
Right.
I mean, for goodness sake, if we pay into the system, which we do,
Yes.
why would you be, why would you have to, why should they tax you on your own investment income?
What there's so many things wrong with our system. We could absolutely go there. I think you wrapped it up so well, Tony, earlier when you started to bring up communism, and then Paul went into there are no isms that are good. And I said, this is basics. This is the brass tacks. The bottom line is we need transparency in how the government is spending our money, because it is our money at the end of the day. And then the second part of that is also like, not only where are they spending, are they spending our money effectively? Let's not forget that we're a capitalist country. And what's shocking about Kamala is to be running for president. You grew up in this country. Are you telling me that living middle class was a bad life? Because the middle class is all but gone at this point because of people like you that have eroded the policies to the point that the government has become about handouts. And that's why we're spending trillions now, as these government programs are ineffective. And it's going to take Donald Trump, someone who's a business person, to come in and rip it apart and say, no, this money isn't being effectively spent. And you know what? He was the king of, you remember it? You're fired. Well, guess what?
Right.
There are going to be a lot of people in government jobs who are going to get you're fired, and there's going to be shakeup, and there's going to be economic turmoil for a very short period of time in some sectors. But we would be better for it because we would replace those socialist jobs with capitalist jobs. Capitalist country, spending money, gold and silver, something that's tangible that you can feel, you can touch, you can own. That's what this country was built on. I mean, think about it. Think about the Industrial Revolution, for God's sakes.
Let's hope that really happens this time, though. We heard this in 2016. The drain the swamp. The swamp was a little bit drained. We had a couple of rats in the hole.
I don't think
bad.
he understood the scope.
A lot of
He
the
didn't
dead
understand
wood.
the scope.
Yeah, the dead wood
I'm
has to
convinced.
go, and that's what he has to do this time. I think you're right here, Karen, because this time Donald Trump knows what he's doing, and he's going to be more dangerous to the Marxists that are within the government, the people that are
within the. I mean, can he fight the globalists? I mean, are we so eroded? And I don't want to get deep and dark here. This is probably more a Paul question. Like, is the apocalypse coming?
The reason why he can fight the globalists,
I think he can do it.
He can fight it because he doesn't need them. All these people that get into office owe the globalists something. Obama owed a lot of people. Biden owed a lot of people. Kamala Harris will owe a lot of people. Problem is, Donald Trump has his money. He's fighting them off with his own money because he doesn't owe anybody when he comes in.
Yeah.
That's the
God bless. God bless.
So, that's the thing. So, but speaking of money, so one of the things Paul can do to help you is look at what he can do regarding your portfolio. So again, we have the banner there, colonialmetalsgroup.com/Ed-Henry. There he is. This is our taskmaster.
He's so handsome.
That's right. So, all right. Yeah. So we're going to get fired, but we'll go out with a blaze of glory. Just saying.
Hey-o.
So anyway, just check out, go to the website or call Paul and his team, 800-805-4034. Again, 800-805-4034. And Paul, this is where what you and your team do so well needs to be something that we understand. Karen just said it. Look, we're going to go through some hard economic times. We're not done yet. Inflation is not done. The economy is barely moving along. For those who can, they should do what's necessary to sustain. I don't want to say it's a lifeboat because it's not that dire necessarily, but you want to have the comfort of metals as part of what you have for your family, right, Paul? I mean, can you walk through a little bit how that should look for people to have regarding gold and silver?
Sure. So to me, if to try and illuminate a visual on how we see gold and silver providing benefit to people and their retirement savings, is if you happen to live in Tornado Alley, isn't it normal to have a bunker that you would use once in a while when the sirens blare? Okay, well, the sirens are blaring, Tony. The dollar's worth 3 cents. It's worth 2.7 cents as an app. So okay, Paul, why do you keep talking about our weak dollar? Because it's a resource. This is what I'd like to clue everyone into. And I'm very open for anyone to message me or try to get me on the horn and talk about how my analogy of it being a resource is misguided. But to date, no one's done that. And if I see something losing value, one, it's definitely not renewable. So what is the resource of corn support? What if the world couldn't grow corn anymore at all? Corn syrup, fructose, lots of things use corn. Lots of animals eat corn. Chicken eat corn. Cows eat corn. They fatten up the cows for steaks, right? Corn's used all over the world. It supports,
Everything.
third world countries. So what if it was gone? Well, things would change. Whatever corn supported would suffer or perish. So the resource of the dollar supports us talking this morning. The printed money from yesterday makes this possible. That's why they're printing it, because the economy doesn't produce enough revenue to cover the costs for America Incorporated. So I've got to say, when you say it isn't that dire, oh my God, the dollar has 2.7 cents left to give, and then it's at zero. So what does the dollar support? Everything. So if you end up with all of your savings in a dollar that does perish when they go to currency change, that's another topic. I don't want to take up all of your time. But
no, we want to talk about that next week. So yeah, okay. I get that.
So when we go to a 0 penny dollar, a tenth of a penny dollar, what's a coffee cost, right? Are you going to get a 300% raise? So I think we're very close to tough times. And I think people also have to stay conscious. Just because they see someone, even myself sitting here in a suit and a tie doesn't mean I'm an authority on everything. When the politicians come, when we drill them during the campaign process, do we ever drill them on how much do you know and what can you prove about what you know worked when you made choices in the past? None of that
that's why I brought up the Kamala stuff. The Kamala
so
stuff
why do
to
we
illustrate
need to
that very
consider
fact.
them authorities when they're talking? Even the Federal Reserve isn't poring over a blueprint of a proven methodology that gets your country out of a nosedive financially and turns things north. We just have these goofy sound bites from Kamala that sounds like communism. And I did say most things that end in ism aren't good. So Karen, I'm sorry to infer that maybe other things like, capitalism is good. Judaism is great. But that's so to me, it is dire. The government isn't going to change its process to continue to print. The economy doesn't produce, and it isn't profitable. If you back out the printed money from GDP measurements, we have a negative GDP since 2010 by my rudimentary calculations. Negative GDP for 14 years. What does that sound like to you? Wouldn't that be described as a depression? So without the printed money, we're in a depression. So what's our conversation today? And what do you think our candidates look like? They're going to look very different. We're going to be seeking, younger, very inspired, very astute turnaround artists. We're going to be looking who's turned around a business that was failing, who's run a supreme company and kept it from ever being in trouble. What company has survived organically during the last 14 years with an economy that isn't printing any money?
Well, that's the thing. And that's next week when you're back, I'd like to go through the BRICS issues, Paul, if you don't mind, because I think if it's not always clear that when we have a fiat currency, which has lost a lot of value, no doubt, it's still the valued commodity that most of the world uses. But that's a fragile benefit in that President Nixon, as you know, took us off the gold standard, put us on the petrodollar standard. And we have had multiple administrations very careless with our currency status. And the only thing holding up our currency right now, in my judgment, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to get into a lot of detail now because we're running out of time, is the fact that we are the currency of choice for most transactions. But the moment we lose that, Paul, the value of our currency will drop away. Is that a fair assessment of what would probably happen?
Yeah, from what I've read, there's something called the velocity of money. So how prevalent and how fast does the dollar change hands keeps that thing viable in a way. It's
like treading water. It's like treading water.
Right, but it's not wholesome. The dollar,
Exactly.
when you create dollars out of thin air, you dilute the value of the dollars, the nutritional value, if you will, of the dollars already in existence. So eventually, it's kind of like burning the candle at both ends, but in a way you don't realize you're burning the candle at both ends. If you destroy the value, the actual buying power of the dollar, eventually the system, to me, mathematically would struggle to exist or not exist. That's the difference.
So,
yes, the velocity, hey, we still use cameras, right? Does it say Canon on the back of my iPhone? Does it say Nikon, right? Polaroid, does it say Polaroid? Yeah, we moved away from those creators of camera taking functionality, but we still use cameras. So we're still always going to use money, but we don't have to be using the dollar. For a long time, the British pound was the reserve currency. It's not. So we need to wake up that the story that actually governments tell is futility and economic famine. That's what my Substack is about. It ends up in a desert.
Yep. So be sure and check out Paul.
So gold and silver.
Check out Paul's Substack. Chris, if you could bring that up real quick. And then again, to remind the folks, check out Ed Henry. Check out Ed. Yeah, there it is. A creek and a flood to the desert. And then Ed Henry, go to the, colonialmetalsgroup.com/Ed-Henry and check out what Paul, his team can do for you. And if you want to call them the old fashioned way, pick up the phone, 800-805-4034, 800-805-4034. Anyway, well, it's been another fast hour, man. It's like people complain, Paul, believe it or not, about how we go through time like Nancy Pelosi goes through vodka. Not that
it's Joe Biden goes through ice cream.
I said that. Anyway, but it's been great having everybody. The Patriots, Karen, the Patriots love you. That's always.
Oh, I'm so glad I'm in the chat. I was a little distracted, Paul, at the end. It was great. I was listening to you, but I was interacting with the chat. I was having such a good time. I might have looked a little distracted.
Chat's always
Karen,
fun.
You're amazing.
Yeah.
And I hope I did an okay job being Kamala's horse whisperer.
Kamala. No, you did
good. No,
Paul, but that was the whole point. Is that you have substance, she doesn't. Everything she says is a platitude that relates to the feel. It's a vibe. It's like, ooh, Kamala, you make me feel like I don't know.
Groovy.
I don't know how you're supposed to feel when you hear what she says. But we are the adults in the room, and as the adults in the room, Paul, it's our job to say, it all sounds nice, but it's communism. It's Kamalaism. It's the same thing. And so what you did is help give substance to what people should be looking at, not what they want you to look at. I think that's what we do here on the program, is help provide our folks, our patriots, a clear, steely-eyed understanding of what the reality is and what they can do to help themselves. And again, folks, if you want to help yourselves, go check out Paul. Check out what he and his team can do for you. It's important. If you value your family and your family's future, then you will go talk to Paul. You will go look at these things, because again, we are here to help you understand how to benefit your financial freedom, how you can go through and sustain yourself no matter what happens. And I want to talk about BRICS, because there's been all sorts of stuff going on with BRICS that I don't think people fully understand. There he is, the taskmaster himself, Ed Henry, colonialmetalsgroup.com/Ed-Henry. So anyway, thank you, Paul, for being here. Karen, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Chris, thank you for running the clock and everything for us.
Hey, yo.
And we got another day this week. So Paul, we'll see you again. I want to talk. Oh, and I did reach out to a certain person that we're trying to get on. She said yes. We're just trying to schedule something now. If you know who I'm talking about, I don't want to get people's, but she has said yeah. So
Amazing.
We're working on time now.
Yeah, we can preview tomorrow.
I think it'll be a great. I think it'll be a great conversation with her. I'm just saying. So we're working on that. So I texted
Let's preview
her.
tomorrow,
Said,
though. Tomorrow.
Good news.
Tomorrow we have.
It's not going to be tomorrow. It's not
No,
going to
no,
be tomorrow.
tomorrow. No, tomorrow we have
Next
two good guests.
Tuesday. Next Tuesday. I
We're
petition
hoping.
for next Tuesday because that's when I'll be back. Catch me
Tomorrow-
next week.
Tomorrow we have Susan Olson and Robert Spencer joining us.
Ooh, Robert Spencer and
Fun.
Susan Olson. That's right. The Brady Bunch.
I'll be in the
The Brady
chat.
Bunch.
That's right.
Yeah. Well,
So we're gonna
you
have
can,
both
you
of
know,
them.
you can
It'll be
hop
nice.
in. So,
Yes.
well, so what were you talking about? How the Brady Bunch never was affected by radical Islam, right? That's true.
There you go.
No, except for that one time where they
True.
tried to fool Cindy into believing that Kitty was not really Kitty. Oh, somebody broke Kitty, and then they gave her another kitty and said, "This is your real kitty," but she knew darn well it wasn't her.
Oh,
So
That's right.
So they tried to pull a fast one on her, but she didn't fall for it. And that's what
That's
we're
right.
doing. We're not falling for Kamala's fast ones. No switching
That's right.
kitties on us.
No switching kitties on us, even if you're in Springfield, Ohio.
Oh,
No switching kitties.
hey-o.
Oh,
That's a hey-o right there. I think I served that one up like
All right. Well, good Patriots. Good seeing y'all. Thank you for being here. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.